Back at it again. It's the State of Football, Part 71 edition. Oh my God, time flies. Your new home for real football talk in the mornings, weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern. We are halfway through the NFL season. We've got some midseason awards to do later on in the show. We've got to go around the league with John Murphy, Ralph Ventre, of course, myself, RIC, and a place to be here in New Jersey. Representing will be out in San Diego on the latter end of the week, broadcasting live at the Hub football event. So we're excited about that. Of course, Friday will be State of the Football, broadcast live, and then we'll do Saturday's show out there. Maybe we'll do it from the sunny field of San Diego. So thanks for tuning in. Saturdays, 10 a.m. Of course, today we're going to go around the league like we do each and every Monday. We'll talk about the lone undefeated team. We'll talk about the lone no victory team. And we'll talk about Anthony Lynn and the LA Chargers just choking it up. So, again, to do that, we have the VP of Player Personnel of the Toronto Argonauts. He is John Murphy joining us in New Orleans. Say hello to the people, Johnny.
Hey, we're back tied.
You did. You caught me. I went 7-5 again. 2 horrendous weeks. Johnny goes 8-4. So we are tied up on the NFL Pick'em standings. Of course, Ralph is fresh off his Buffalo Bills wagon. I'm sure we'll see Robin Baxton soon up in Buffalo, all our chat room peoples. And, of course, the Buffalo Bills coming out victorious. So that means our NEC co-commissioner is in a very good mood this morning. How are you today, Ralph?
I'm great. Great victory yesterday. All 3 phases of the game. You just love to see it, baby. The Buffalo Bills are marching on 7-2 for the first time since 1993.
And unbelievable. And I'll tell you what, Josh Allen, the way he outperformed Russell Wilson yesterday, definitely puts a question mark on the NFL MVP. So we'll talk about who our midseason MVP is, our defensive player of the year through the halfway point. We'll do offensive and comeback players. Oh, by the way, NFLDraftBible.com just released Scouting the Nation over on the website. We also have our NFL rookie midseason team, along with all of our scouting notes from the past weekend. Of course, Russell Landy will be here tomorrow to talk about the college football weekend that was. We'll look ahead at the college football weekend that will be. But today we start off with the game last night where this one really caught me off guard. And, just when you thought you have the NFL figured out, they really shake it up and mix it around and produce an interesting cocktail here. And the Saints, they didn't just beat the Bucs. I mean, they whooped the Bucs. And at this point, I think the NFC a little bit more wide open than the AFC. But at this point in time, especially, that's the first time I think in Brady's career that he's been swept by a divisional opponent. But you've got to now put the Saints at the top of that hill with Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, etc. coming back. John Murphy down there in New Orleans, take it away.
One person picked the Saints, I think. I think they did that. You knew you were in trouble if you had picked the Bucs when everybody on Sunday Night Football and
the whole panel
on ESPN and everybody on the morning show at the NFL Network had picked the Bucs. You knew something was not going to go right. But it was, I think it was awesome that everybody got to watch the GOAT last night on both sides. The GOAT for the Bucs, 3.6 quarterback rating. Way to bring that to the table. And if you had Shaheem, or Josh Hill outscoring Rob Gronkowski, you got a problem when both of those two guys score and Gronk has 1 for 2 yards. The question will be now, how does Tampa handle this? The first time they handled that loss, they kind of he got a little bit, Bruce Arians got under Tom Brady's, collar there a little bit, pointing the finger. What do you do with it this time? And then, hey, it all sounded and looked good with Antonio Brown last night. But guess what? Like it or not, you were on a roll. Now you spent a week leading into the game against the Saints pretty much talking about a guy that hadn't played for you yet. We'll see how that whole chemistry idea of, hey, there's nothing wrong with this, we can add him into the mix, it's no problem. Because if you look at it, there's 2 scores of those where Tampa Bay's not even lined up right defensively. So you got a little bit of a problem there. You made Trey Hendrickson look like he might be a dark horse for Defensive Player of the Year if he played the Bucs any more times this year. And so the Saints aren't playing with Rankins. You figured out how to cure the Saints' ineptitude with giving up plays of over 45 yards, because guess what? They played the Bucs last night, and they don't have a play vertically down the field of over 20. So somehow the Saints, who had been giving up those big plays worse than any team in the league, figured that out last night. And the other thing was, the other record that was set, beside Drew Brees going 5-2 now against Tom Brady all time, the Bucs ran the ball 4 times. There's never been a game in the NFL where a team has handed the ball off 4 times in a game. So we're going to see, going back to the drawing board here, what you're going to get out of the Bucs in terms of, that I think had to be a real reality shocker to see that the game, or the chance that you could see the Saints play an A game, but play it in such fashion against a team like the Bucs. We saw it, 3 weeks ago, the Packers were the A team in the NFC, and the Bucs beat the brakes off of them. And now we've seen the Saints do the same thing to the Bucs. So the order of business in the NFC has certainly become pretty interesting for the second half of the season, with the NFC West between Seattle and the Cardinals. Yes, other teams are going to say they want to have their say. What does Green Bay look like with what they're still trying to do there and figure their life out, with things? And then it's really now the Saints and the Bucs, and the Saints have put themselves in the driver's seat, them in Seattle, them against the team out west to be number 1. Not exactly, I think, how Tom Brady and the Bucs felt like that was going to go. I think they would have felt, if anything, they would have put up that 38-3 win and had an opportunity. Hey, nice to see Jameis Winston even had a better quarterback rating last night than Tom Brady.
He's back to eating the W's. I don't know if you saw him in the post-game conference. He's eating the W's, baby.
1 for 1 for 12 yards. Take it any way you can, Jameis.
Well, hey, they had 3 quarterbacks, about 20 running backs, 10 receivers catching the ball. And, yeah, I think, oh, by the way, the Seahawks, fresh off their loss to the Buffalo Bills, will face the LA Rams, who will have something to say about this equation too, because a Rams victory will now put them in a tie for first place. They were in the Super Bowl, just a couple years ago. So Sean McVay still lurking there. Of course, Seahawks getting thumped by the Bills. Ralph, I know you want to bask in the glory here and take us through that one. Take us off mute first, and then we'll get into the Bills and Seahawks. Unmute the mic, brother. Samantha, do we have Ralph's audio? What's going on?
What's
there
up?
We go.
What's up?
There
what
we go.
Here, Rick? What
Seahawks, Bills, take it away.
Seahawks, Bills. Well, the Bills were in control from the start, really. Went down, 50-yard kickoff return to start the game, cashed in right away on a touchdown pass from Josh Allen. And the Seahawks pass defense was as bad as advertised. You could see Jamal Adams was getting frustrated out there. Had one penalty where he kind of tripped the Bills receiver with his knee. Little questionable move there from El Prez. But yeah, really, the Bills put together a complete effort. It was their best game of the season, offense, defense, special teams, and they really needed to do that, especially at home, and especially considering what happened when they played the Titans and the Chiefs. We knew the Bills were good. They couldn't claim that elite status. They lost to two of the better teams in the conference, but finally they went up against one of the best in the NFC, and they got the victory. So it really was a great day to be a Buffalo Bills fan. Josh Allen continues to take tremendous strides. I heard about how this guy was a parody of an NFL prospect, how he would never make it, he's not accurate, completion percentage. He was terrible against good teams at Wyoming. The list goes on and on and on. Well, you know what? 5 out of 9 games, he's over 300 yards passing, 2 400-yard games, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 7 victories, and 9 starts. That's the story. Josh Allen is doing just fine. And for probably the second time this season, the other time being the win against the Raiders, the Bills' defense showed up in the win against the Seahawks. So really, that's what you got. I mean, the Bills will be tested as the year moves on. Next week, we're going to the desert to take care of Kyler Murray. Then the bye. But Steelers coming up on the schedule, a lot of primetime games in December. So we will continue to see if these Bills are for real.
Yeah, big matchup. You know, the Cardinals losing on a 49-yard blown field goal by Zane Gonzalez, so they're unable to beat the Dolphins. We'll talk about Tua time later on, but don't look now. If the Cardinals do pull that off, and the aforementioned Rams do beat the Seahawks, suddenly you now have a 3-way tie in that NFC West with the 49ers just kind of looking in the rearview mirror like, see you later. Oh, by the way, you know, on the AFC side, the Chiefs and Panthers, what a thriller that was. Matt Rule almost knocking off the defending champs. Robin in the chat room, you just missed our Buffalo spiel. Thank you for joining us. But, you know, what's remarkable to me is that Patrick Mahomes, through his first, what is it now, however many games, he has 100 touchdowns. We just saw Breeze and Brady, who are going back and forth with 543 or whatever touchdowns. At this age, Breeze, I think Brady had 27 touchdowns and Breeze has 29, and here's Mahomes with 101. I mean, Jesus, talk about the shooting star that is a Patrick Mahomes. But the Chiefs take care of business, and we talked about it in the AFC. John, you've got the Chiefs and the Steelers kind of as the tier 1 categories. I think the Bills are now in that tier 2 category, right, along with the Ravens, who, you know, we saw the Steelers take care of business last week against Baltimore. Which way would the Ravens go? Will they rebound and take care of the Colts? I think the Bills are now in that tier 2 group. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs and the Steelers remain the teams to beat, I think, in the entire NFL. And what about Garrett Gilbert time? You know, the former Alliance League quarterback. The Cowboys were winning this one for most of the game. Back comes the Steelers. Back comes Big Ben with the knee injury. And the Steelers hold on to remain the only undefeated team halfway through the season.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you look at this, you know, the regular season being what it is, if you're going to get all 3 of these teams pretty easily to the playoffs, between now and getting to the playoffs, it's really going to be, where are those games played, right? You know, are you playing Pittsburgh against Buffalo in Pittsburgh or Buffalo, right? If you're down
or
to
a
that
bubble
matchup.
Or a bubble.
Right. Are you getting to the finish line against Kansas City in Kansas City? And if you are, can you keep playing these games that are fundamentally unsound? Now, you're winning regular season football games. But are you really saying, when you're playing football in December or January, that in Kansas City, you're going to throw it 45 times and you're going to run it 10 or 12 and beat the brakes off of teams high 30 to low 40s by just outscoring them by throwing it to death? Because yesterday the Chiefs win their game, no turnovers, get a couple of Teddy Bridgewater turnovers, but other than that, you're not stopping anybody. He went for 350. They ran for almost 100 against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs ran for about 30 yards. Pittsburgh, same thing, 350 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, ran the ball for grand total of about 40 yards. And let Garrett Gilbert kind of do his thing. I mean, completing a lot of passes he shouldn't complete. And if you look, that's one of the things the Steelers' corners are doing. Now, Fitzpatrick makes up for a lot of their errors by how he plays in the middle of the field, but the outside receivers against the Steelers are making a lot of plays. You just don't know it because they're undefeated. And then it's great for regular season football. But do you really believe that if you're playing a playoff game in Buffalo with what can happen in Buffalo at that time of year, can you throw it basically 50 times, have your quarterback be your second leading rusher with 14 yards, and this is the second team that you've beaten that you've had to score late in the game to make sure you win the game when you've had 20-plus points in the first half, 300 yards of offense in the first half, and your defense has given up 20-plus points in the second half. So to me, down the stretch, whose defense actually plays defense and who finally picks up that running game? Is it Hilaire and Bell? Is it Connor? Is it Moss and Singletary? Because if not, you got 3 teams there that are playing excellent regular season football, but no ground attack and no defense. I mean, you saw it last night. The Saints had the ball 40 minutes. 40 minutes to what the Bucs had, and the Bucs throw for 250 and ran for about 5 yards. Over time, somebody in that group could lose a playoff game unnecessarily because that's not a balanced attack on a weekly basis. It's really driven, by the one-off of, hey, you're just submitting people, with those stats. 415 for Josh Allen yesterday. And no turnovers, right? I mean, that game is 4 turnovers by Russell Wilson and no turnovers by Josh Allen. But at the end of the day, you still gave up 300 plus in the air and you gave up 7 sacks to Seattle. Right? So, I mean, that's a game that you had them where that should have been 41-21. And then you're playing, that's a different attack. But if you're still having to throw when you're up, it makes me wonder, is that what brought the Rams back? Is that what allowed Seattle to be in a game that in all reality, the Bills were beating the daylights out of? That was the second best ass whipping, for most of the game. And then all of a sudden, the Bills had to score double-digit points in the fourth quarter to put that game away. That's not going to happen all the time, right? I mean, we know that Russell Wilson's not going to turn it over, 4 times, just like Murray's not going to play like, not going to have a couple of incompletions that, could have gotten them a closer field goal. You're not going to win or lose games, but you can lose games the way that those 3 teams are playing, because when you get to the playoffs, you're not going to get, just these teams that you can get away with that on a weekly basis, right? There's going to be no Jets. There's going to be no Patriots. There's going to be no leftover teams. Every game is going to be against a Seattle, an Arizona. Yeah, I think if you leave those teams hanging around in the second half of games and then you're hoping to run the ball, you got to figure out how to run the ball here, all 3 of those teams down the stretch on a more consistent basis, because they can.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm looking around the league. Outside of the Bears, I don't even see a good defense in the NFL. Like 2020, seriously, like 2020 is just who's going to outscore the other opponent. And I just looked it up. There's only 2 teams in the entire league allowing under 300 yards a game, which is incredible. One of them being the Colts and one of them being the Rams, surprisingly. And so, they're just not it. And believe it or not, the Saints are 3rd and the Bucs are 4th. So in terms of yardage allowed, I mean, the defenses around the league are terrible. And I just think it's going to come down to like, hey, Pittsburgh and KC, AFC Championship, maybe it's the Bills. Whoever puts more lights up that scoreboard is going to move on. And that's the way the 2020 COVID season has gone. Is it a sign of things to come? Is it just a product of no preseason and training camp? I really don't know. But man, the points are flying. The kids are throwing, flinging it around the schoolyard. You see teams running the ball 4 times. It's amazing. It's incredible that the defenses in the NFL are just MIA. And that goes for college football as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow. John Murphy, Ralph Ventre, Ric Serritella breaking it down on the NFLDraftBible.com. Shout out to all our chat room people. Robin, we appreciate you joining us here on this early morning. If you're on Facebook, Periscope, Instagram, Twitter, you got a question, drop us a line. We'd be happy to interact with all of our chat room people. And, of course, NFLDraftBible.com. We've got Scouting the Nation up there this morning. We're releasing our player rankings. Of course, you can go all access, use our promo code Familia50. It's a November to remember here at the NFL Draft Bible. Save 50%, our 19th year of independent NFL draft coverage. We've got a brand new website coming too. So if you get on board now, you'll gain access to all of our premium insider content once that draft season rolls around, which is not too far away, just about 170 days away from that 2021 NFL draft in Cleveland. All right, Ralph, Vance Joseph, we've seen the Chargers come so close and they just can't pull off these close battles. This one, maybe they chalk it up to the referees, the replay there at the end. You talk about losing 1-score games, but I'll tell you, when you take a look at Coach's demeanor in the post game, he was just flabbergasted, all the energy exhausted out of him. You wonder if this was kind of when you look back at the end of the season and Joseph does get fired, if this was the ultimate nail in the coffin.
You're thinking of Anthony Lynn.
I'm sorry.
Vance Joseph, former Denver coach. Now he's with your Cardinals, I believe, cooking up the defense for Cliff Kingsbury, I think. But yeah, Anthony Lynn, who I think personally is a good coach, and I like him, but how many more of these losses can a team take? It's just the gut punch after gut punch. Now they do have a rookie quarterback, and he is performing pretty well and showing potential. So you have to wonder what the Chargers front office, what their view is right now. Are they in this for the long haul with Anthony Lynn? Or are they going to want to start fresh? I hope it doesn't cost him his job, but then again, how many of these gut punch losses can you take? And with the extra wild card spot this year, they're not even in contention for that right now. But I do believe the future is bright with the LA Chargers because of the rookie quarterback, Justin Herbert. With that said, this has kind of been a weird thing that's plagued the Chargers in recent years. Even before Anthony Lynn was the head coach, Phil Rivers was still in town. And, it seemed like every week they found a way to lose, whether it was a Rivers interception or a chip shot field goal that was missed. I know they had a lot of kicking problems in years past, but it seems like they've always have a knack for suffering these 1-score defeats. But at this point, the Chargers, they are where they are, and they're not in playoff contention. And really moving forward, it should be about developing the rookie quarterback.
Yeah, well, Herbert's a good one. There's no doubt about that. Donald Parham, another one of these Alliance/XFL guys, starting to make a name for himself as a red zone threat there. But yeah, listen, for all the good that is Justin Herbert, at some point in time, you've got to start winning ball games, even though it is a rookie quarterback, if Coach Lynn wants to survive there. And you saw them just give away Derwin James for a 6th-round pick last week at the deadline. It's like, what is that? So we'll keep an eye on the Chargers here. That 16-team playoff format, has that been approved? I know they were talking about it. I don't know if that's official yet or not.
From what I know, there's a 14-team playoff format going into the year. There'll be an extra wild card, 7 teams in each conference. That is concrete, and that is part of the new CBA deal that they signed, but I believe they made it start a year early for that playoff experiment. The 16-team playoff that you're talking about, from my understanding, that is part of an NFL contingency plan with COVID. Right. From what I understand, and none of this is official yet, these are all from various reports and leaks, but from what I understand, the NFL is confident they're going to play all 256 games. But if for some reason in the coming weeks the virus gets control of the country and it ravages the NFL, they have a plan where they will shut it down for a few weeks to recalibrate. And at that point, they may just pick right up with the playoffs. And in that case, with a shortened regular season, they would allow 2 more playoff teams. So you would have 8 teams from each conference. Right now, we're going to have 7 teams from each conference, assuming we play the full regular season schedule. If it gets cut short because of COVID and they have to go on pause, then they'll expand the playoffs and jump right into that when they resume competition. But that's just a contingency plan. I don't think the NFL will need it, but of course, they're always covering their bases and looking ahead. And really, that's why they've gotten to this point already, because they've done a fabulous job. Their percentage of positives is 100th of a percentage, and compared to the American population, it's minuscule. So the NFL is doing a great job.
0.03
players are staying virus-free, and we're getting some good football to enjoy on Sundays.
Yeah, I think it's a 0.03 positivity rate with all the testing that they've done thus far. That means the number 1 seed looms very large then with the 7-team format. The first round team, I would assume, is getting that round 1 bye. Man, that is quite the reward in a COVID season to get a first round bye if you're the number 1 seed. All right, John, we talked about Justin Herbert, and in South Beach, everybody's excited about Tua time. Don't look now, Buffalo, but Miami's creeping up the rear. They got an easy schedule. And last time we saw Tua, we didn't really know which direction it was going to go. They kind of just, played it very conservative. But yesterday he wins a shootout with Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think, the thing that you saw there is, again, some of these guys, kind of playing to Tua, the same way we've seen the positive energy, go around, at times with the guys playing for Burrow. We haven't seen it so much with, Justin Herbert, but, hey, when you see Herbert out the gate, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, certainly not, the turnovers, it's not, San Diego can't point, the Chargers can't point to turnovers being why they're losing games, just like the Bengals, there. And now you see Tua out the gate in 2 games with no interceptions as well. So the rookie quarterbacks, what they're doing is a very good job, of protecting the football. And then you saw yesterday, pretty much out of nowhere, if you were Arizona, this was not what you were expecting, because instead of a heavy diet of running the ball and being, kind of comfortable with trying to keep the game to a lower scoring affair, all of a sudden Shane Gailey kind of opened up the playbook and gave Tua some plays. And all of a sudden, here we are going back and forth where you thought, at least I did, really good game. And then Kyler makes a great play. It's 31-24. Like, hey, that's gonna kind of be where the game, sort of, goes toward the Cardinals' way. And they come right back down the field and score to tie it up. Did you overestimate the factor that kicker, was just a guarantee, to make a kick of that length? Maybe, but you're playing the percentages, and I mean, straight down the middle, just short, so it's a tough, it's a home loss that I think you would have counted as a win. And like you said, there's at least a variable where you still have, a Rams team that could play you well, a Seattle game that now is going to be very important to the Seahawks, not to double down and lose both games, to you in order to win the division. And for Miami, this was a very necessary win because your offense got you on the board, literally. And when you gave up a couple of big plays down the field because you're playing that aggressive style attacking defense, you rebounded and were able to get yourself a win, without playing your best game, on the road defensively. You got to handle your own business, and then it's all about what happens when you get round 2, right? Because the Bills have a chance to sweep. The Saints had a chance to sweep. The Cardinals are going to have a chance to sweep Seattle. If you sweep, the division's in your hands. If you split, we're going to get down to the finish line, and stuff. But I think what the Dolphins did yesterday, the loser of that Ravens-Colts game, now you got the Colts-Titans, I think, on a short week. If you're Miami, you're setting yourself up to now, hey, we don't necessarily just have to, take the 7 spot. We might be able to be the number 1, wild card team and avoid somebody, in this scenario and get a better, get a better matchup. And they're, the one thing they're bringing to the table, is for the most part, they're playing good defense. They had an idea of doing something different to stop Kyler Murray. Did it work? Not often, but it worked enough to get you back and keep you in the game. And I think if we would have said, myself included, I thought they could win that game, but it would have been a lower scoring. If you would have said that this game was going over, I would have said, okay, wait, I'm going Cardinals on this. So I think you saw a different way for Miami to win games, and all of a sudden they kind of are kind of moving themselves more into that, high 3 and nipping on the buds of getting toward the tier 2 teams. If you can start playing like this, and what I had mentioned before they made the quarterback swap, now is even more, emphasis is if they run the hot streak just like these other teams have, except for the Chargers and the Bengals. But if they take this 2 apart, right, and it's a chance to go 5-2 when you're already 5-3, right? So now you're going to count the Dolphins have a legit shot on their schedule to get to 9 or 10 wins.
Check this out. So don't look now, Ralph. Coming up for the Dolphins, you've got the Chargers coming across country this week. Should be a winnable game. They go on the road to Denver, which is a winnable game. They then face the Jets, which is a gimme. And then they come back home to take on the Bengals. I mean, I would imagine they win at least 3 out of 4 of these games, set themselves up with an 8-4 record for the final stretch of the season. What a great job Chris Greer and Brian Flores have done here, rebuilding on the fly, right, and staying competitive. And, oh, by the way, they've got the Houston Texans first-round pick, so they're probably going to have another top 5, at the very least, another top 10 player to add into the mix. This Dolphins team, if Tua stays healthy, and yesterday was a foreshadowing of anything to come, this is going to be a team built for long-term success because now you've got that piece, that quarterback on the rookie deal. And we've seen that is now the modern-day formula of winning a championship. The Chiefs just did it. Can they do it when they're paying Pat Mahomes $40 million? That remains to be seen. But when you're paying a guy $4 million, it makes it a lot easier. Any thoughts there, Ralph?
Yeah, and the direction of the Dolphins organization, it's going the right way. You have to be excited if you're a Fins fan. And as you note, long-term success. And I think that's what they're setting themselves up for. And when we get to the midseason awards, you'll understand that I respect what this Miami team is doing. But with that said, they're not at a level yet where you can just start checking off wins for the Miami Dolphins and a rookie quarterback who's 2 starts into his career. Let's pump the brakes here. NFL, I hate to use the cliche, but it is a week-to-week league. And circumstances affect games and matchups affect games. It's a lot less about win-loss records and a lot more about matchups. And I will make a bold prediction here, and I will tell you that when Buffalo plays Miami in Week 17, Buffalo will be resting its starters because the division will be a foregone conclusion. Miami is not there yet. They remind me a lot of what?
So you already have Miami winning before they play Week 17?
What do you mean? I'm telling you that the Bills are. You're trying to be funny, guy here. But hey, I'm telling you that it will not matter for the Bills. But listen, this Miami team reminds me a lot of what happened when the Bills hired Sean McDermott. Now I know this is Flores' second season, but in the Bills' first season with Sean McDermott, they were looked at as probably a 6-win team, but they were gritty enough to win 9 games and steal a playoff spot with Tyrod Taylor as the starting quarterback. And honestly, it was a lot about maximizing the talent and the personnel you have. And it was really about culture. I know that it's intangible and it sounds kind of hokey, but I really do think that it matters and it can make a difference at different points in a season. And I think the Bills have built that culture, and I think it's being built in Miami as well. And, we may see Buffalo and Miami like Kelly and Marino, hopefully for the next 5 or 10 years going at it. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, it's shaping up to be that way. It's the state of football here, weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern, your new home. Salute for real football talk in the mornings. Ric Serritella, John Murphy, Ralph Ventre here, breaking it down, going around the league. Make sure you go all access NFLDraftBible.com. Support the Familia, our 19th season, providing independent NFL draft coverage. All right, well, we are officially halfway through the NFL season, so it's time for our the state of football NFL midseason awards. We're going to have some fun and go around the horn with it. Ralph, go ahead. Why don't you? Oh, did we just lose Ralph? John, go ahead and lead off with your midseason MVP selection.
Well, there's a couple that I think have entered, the race here. I think it's easy, to go with the Mahomes, kind of thing with he hasn't done anything to, not keep himself in there. The surprising one is that you will not see Lamar Jackson anywhere in the top 5 in this scenario at the moment. But I think Mahomes is in the top 5. I think your boy Kyler, has put himself in that mix. Even with yesterday, I would still say it's close to what Russell Wilson has done to date. Even with yesterday, he would have a close win with now, after yesterday, moving forward, if you want 2 guys that are probably now in the hunt to be 2 and 3 the rest of the way. One is he just showed back up, Ralph Ventre's stepson, Josh Allen, and 2 would be, when you look at it, the second longest winning streak right now in the NFL. And after 2-0 against Tom Brady, statistically, 17 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Drew Brees is now, I think, moving up the tier here to say if one of those Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady guy is going to get in this mix, and you have the young gun in Josh Allen in the mix, to me, right now, Wilson would be there because it's not the best player. Best player in the league is Mahomes. Most valuable player, I still think, is Russell Wilson, because minus him, that team is below the Niners in terms of, the record-wise. He has them as a contender, not just to make the playoffs. He has them as a contender. If he goes out there and throws for 405 touchdowns in a game, that's going to put them in any match, any game that they play, no matter what the consequences or when it is. And to me, that's what gives him the edge at the midpoint. But I'm saying the midpoint is now turning where he's turning, kind of heading a little bit downward because of the rest of his team. The trending up would be the Josh Allen, the Mahomes, and the Drew Brees, because, hey, if you finish the season with those kind of records and those kind of stats, then it's going to be another one of those sad stories for Russell Wilson, where at least this time you're going to get some votes, Russell. Don't worry. You're going to get a couple of votes. But the two losses that you've had, you've lost to two other guys that are in my top 5. And that would be Josh Allen and Kyler Murray, would be in there. So it's all quarterbacks. The only guy you could see as a dark horse, Derrick Henry deserves at least a mention, on the verge of another 1,500-plus yard season. But, yeah, I just don't see that anybody outside of one of these 3 or 4 quarterbacks, it's probably, in that mix. And like I said, I think the thing is, how they're playing, Russell Wilson's most valuable. And in either one of Allen or Murray, minus those guys on their current teams, how they're playing, you would have a hard time making me believe that those two teams are true playoff contenders without those guys kind of doing what they have to date.
Well, I do think Aaron Donald deserves some consideration here, because the guy has got like 40 QB pressures. He leads the league in sacks from the interior position. I mean, he at least deserves to be in the conversation. But, I'm going to disagree with you here somewhat, because and Russell Wilson has never won an MVP. Maybe one day he will. This year won't be it. The last 2 games I saw, I did not see an MVP type of player on the field. Whereas I'm going to go with my guy Joe Everett in the chat room, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this guy plays at an MVP level week in and week out. And I'll even go as far as to say this: Russell Wilson has better weapons to throw to. I'm just saying, I'll give me Lockett and Metcalf over Tyreek Hill and whoever you want to call number 2. I think Seattle has got just as good, if not better, weapons than Kansas City. So I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes. Give me the guy who's got 25 touchdowns and 1 interception. Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. He had 26 touchdowns last season. He's got 25 at the midway point. So, John's going Russell Wilson. I'm going to go Patrick Mahomes, but it's still a wide open race. Who do you have, Ralph?
I'm going Russell Wilson right now, but Josh Allen is right there back in the conversation.
He just took care of your boy Russ yesterday. I'm surprised.
I know, but I to what John says, you can say this almost about any NFL team. They're obviously not nearly as good of a team without their starting quarterback, without their number 1 quarterback. But I mean, you take Russell Wilson off of Seattle and put in Geno Smith, and I don't know if they'll score 10 points the rest of the season.
They probably will do better than Chad Henne in Kansas City.
I don't know. Chad Henne, he's got some guile, tough kid from Pennsylvania. He showed a little bit with the Dolphins, and it's not bad for a backup. But, no, I think Russell Wilson really is the linchpin of that team. With that said, you can make an argument on how valuable a guy like Josh Allen has been for the Buffalo Bills when, they're putting up offensive. This was a team in the past 10 years, they would pray that they could win a game 17-13. Now, they know they can move the ball down the field and through the air. They passed all but 2 times in the first half yesterday on the way to 285 pass yards in the first half, 2 rushing attempts. The NFL has changed. It's a pass-happy league. It's air raid style, and the Bills have adapted, and Josh Allen's growth and maturity have allowed the Bills to adapt their style. 2 years ago, when Josh Allen's a rookie, they're not throwing it 40 times a game. they're throwing it 15 times a game and trying to let the defense win. But Josh Allen has completely changed the face of the Buffalo Bills franchise, and that's why he should be in consideration for the MVP. Right now, I'd go with a slight edge to Russ Wilson. And then again, if you wanted to pick the best player in the league, as John says, not the MVP, but the best player, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's not rocket science, folks.
Well, his salary says he's the most valuable, so we shall see halfway through the season. It'll be an interesting one. All right, who do you got for defensive player of the year thus far? Ralph, I kind of gave that one away. Is there anybody else in the mix here?
Aaron Donald's the guy. I guess some Steelers fans will try to tell you TJ Watt to be honest with you, we've said it time and time again, defense has been missing in action this season. Not too many defensive standouts, but Aaron Donald has been consistent week in and week out. It is amazing what that man can do. I don't know if it's strength and technique. He's just special. And I mean, go back and watch. He does it at least 2 or 3 times a game. But go back and watch the play he had against the Bills, where he just bursts into the backfield and single-handedly wraps Josh Allen up, takes the ball out all in one motion. I mean, the guy is a beast. He's at a different level. He's the defensive player of the year at the midway point. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it ends up either. I don't even know. Does anyone have any gaudy numbers that could even get into the conversation here?
Blake Martinez leads the league in tackles. But, I would say Budda Baker's a good one. I mean, he has just been playing at an elite level, so shout out to Joe Everett in the chat room there. And he also mentioned, Tuitt and Hayward, when you go to Steelers camp or Steelers practice or go observe the Pittsburgh Steelers, the mountain of the men that are Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt, I mean, these guys are just like monsters there holding down the line, which allows, a TJ Watt to run loose and get free there. So, John, I think at this point, though, it's unanimous. I mean, Aaron Donald is playing at an elite level. I would say, not since JJ Watt circa, 2012 to 2015 have you seen a guy kind of just dominate the league the way Aaron Donald has.
Yeah, I think what you've said, he's kind of the runaway. And then, the guys that are having good seasons, that's sort of thanks for coming, because TJ Watt could get some of his votes taken by, he's getting the votes. There's others that are playing similar. Is their play responsible for his ability to make the flash plays? So there's kind of a group there. Myles Garrett, congrats for keeping your helmet on, and making plays, 9 sacks. So, but again, I think that's going to register more as Myles Garrett getting back on the field and, and just kind of getting back to the type of player, we expect him to be. I don't think he's really going to be in the mix. And then, you mentioned one of them. I think the Devin White, Bobby Wagner, style linebacker that's going to be a stat filler, top 5 in tackles, going to have 5 or 7 sacks, going to create 5 or 6 turnovers, and then the Budda Baker, who is basically taking the place of Jamal Adams in that role this year of the DB, who is going to do the same thing, lead his team in tackles, and potentially give you 3 to 5 sacks, and 5+ turnovers and make big plays. So those guys, I think they deserve mention because that's how well they play for their individual defenses. But to me, it's Aaron Donald kind of in a runaway. Probably more. That is the most dominant of all of these awards. Would be Aaron Donald will landslide his. That we won't have to wait for the recount. We won't have to wait. We won't have to wait to count those votes. Even Nevada will be able to count those votes quick enough to tell us who won. So Aaron Donald should be able to get his award pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think if he didn't play another game the rest of the season, he'd be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. All right, NFL midseason awards here. That was probably the easiest. This next one, I believe, is the hardest to award, and that is Offensive Rookie of the Year. Who do you have, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to just sit pretty with my clubhouse leader, which I picked, which was, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, I'd like to just sit there, on him. I think, his former quarterback in college. I have, Joe Burrow right under Helaire. Tristan Wirfs, you got to mention an O-lineman, not just because it's interesting and unique, but, he has played deservedly amongst the top 5 offensive players in the league. And then I think, that combination of Gibson or Justin Jefferson or James Robinson. But I got to say, I know they're not winning any games, but Justin Herbert has played exceptional in every game. There's no bad game here. So they lose yesterday, and he borderline has another touchdown, which would have been the game winner. But again, every week it's high 20s completions out of damn near 40 attempts a week coming right out the gate when they threw you in because the team doctor, kind of made an error in pregame. This wasn't a guy that was prepared to play that week. And then now there's film of him, and it doesn't seem to matter that he's going out there every week and averaging 3 touchdowns and 1 turnover a game or less. I think he's kind of taken that situation, there. And if you're not going to bury Burrow for not winning, you shouldn't bury, Justin Herbert, either. So I'd like to just sit there and take the W of having picked Helaire at the beginning of the year. But, it's hard at the halfway point. He's on pace for 30-plus touchdowns with less than 10 turnovers as a rookie quarterback that we had no expectation was going to play until late in the season after everything we heard from Anthony Lynn and, the Tyrod Taylor situation. So, to me, it is as surprising to me to see how much success this guy has had. And he played against Brady, he played against Drew Brees, and pretty much every one of these matchups, he annihilates David Carr, yesterday in terms of that matchup, there. He's given his club a chance to win every one of these games he's played.
Yeah, to me, I think the debate is between Burrow and Herbert. And, because the Bengals, I think, have won, one more game or they got the same amount of wins. But I think the Chargers actually had expectations coming into the season where the Bengals had none. So I believe that Herbert has played better, but I think if you're giving the award out in terms of defying expectations, providing stability on a losing franchise, showing the kind of leadership, and this guy's as cool as Joe Montana back there in the pocket. To me, it's Burrow slightly over Herbert. With Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had a couple nice games, 800 total yards. You want to throw Mapletron into the mix, you can. But to me, Ralph, it comes down to Burrow or Herbert, and I have Burrow by a hair. I mean, you could state a case for either one of these guys.
I like Justin Herbert. He's in the conversation for me. But my rookie of the year right now on the offensive side is James Robinson. Illinois State, undrafted, unheralded. Doesn't know he's going to get the job. Injuries, he wins the job. He's been a starting back, a number 1 back, getting the bulk of the carries for the Jaguars since week 1. And he's been awesome. He really has been awesome. And it's not like he's on a team with good quarterback play. I mean, you can pretty much stack the box. But James Robinson is still gaining yardage. I mean, to me, from where he started and where he's been consistently for 8 games, James Robinson has done a phenomenal job. And right now, he deserves the Rookie of the Year because Burrow and Herbert, first of all, they were top-round picks. They're supposed to come in and do this. But with that said, they haven't been exceptional. They haven't. Neither of those teams are going to the playoffs. They haven't been exceptional. I'll give you the fact I like Joe Burrow, has been cool and collected back there, and I love what I see from Herbert. But what about, let's go with an unheralded guy, undrafted, from a lousy team who has consistently put up production week in and week out. And then I'll give you one more quick rookie, offensive rookie, had a disappointing start to the season, was sidelined by a foot injury, but now Zach Moss is back in the Bills' backfield. But the usage is rising for Zach Moss.
Give him the hook here.
He won't win the award, but he will be a contributor down the stretch, baby. We got to circle it back to the Buffalo Bills.
Well, good job with the James Robinson mention. I think, when you just take a listen to that conversation, the NFL offensive rookies, what a star-studded class. And shout out to the Redbirds, the Jaguars now, relying on a 6th-round rookie quarterback and a undrafted rookie running back in that backfield. Sticking to the rookies, Ralph, I'll keep it right there with you. Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I don't know where we're going on this one. I mean, I would have loved for it to be A.J. Epinesa for the Bills, but that isn't happening. I don't know. Has there really been there's such a shortage of defense this year? I don't really know where to go. Maybe the big exec over there, John Murphy, can help me out on this one.
Well, his guy Patrick Queen is in the mix. I think you can state a case for Antoine Winfield or Jeremy Chin. Chase Young, I think, has a couple big plays. DJ Wanham for the Vikings has played well. And then Kinlaw and Derek Brown both have, stepped in adequately. So I guess those would be the leading contenders there. John, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'd like to just sit on my clubhouse leader. Yeah, I'd like to sit there and do that. But, if you handed me the vote at the halfway point, I think I'd have to give it to Chin. I mean, you're getting everything you wanted and thought you could get out of them when they drafted him. And you heard what they were saying in Carolina about positionless football, on defense. They want guys that can do a number of different things, and so far, you're at this point of the season, and Chin has 67 tackles, tackles for loss. He's got 5 pass defenses. He's got an interception. You would have to say that, Queen has the big play that we all saw a couple of weeks ago. It's tight. It could go either way. Chase Young still has a chance, right? The production hasn't been there. He's been a little banged up, but he's going to have a lot of opportunity if he plays down the stretch. No one else has really done anything. You mentioned Winfield. I think he's the best of those other guys that could stay in the mix. He's making the most plays. And then even though it's not for his defensive play, but you have a defensive player who is doing some exceptional things on special teams, at least there's some way to get, Isaiah Rodgers a mention, in the mix as one of the better rookies, as he has been the best special teams returner, type rookie. So if you're looking for somebody that's just kind of outside the box, he's not playing on defense for the Colts, but you can't make him an offensive player. So at least get him a mention when we're talking about the guys on the defensive side of the ball. It won't be shocking if David Turner can't still pull this one out, down the stretch with, Chase Young, because he's easy to vote for. And if he gets 5 sacks the rest of the way, he wins.
Right.
Otherwise, it's kind of a mishmash, there. And where Queen might be able to, assert himself over, Jeremy Chin is, there's a chance now that the Panthers sort of, kind of just play their way. Don't mention anybody who's playing defense for the Lions until they actually are a team we talk about on a weekly basis, please. All right, keep your 2 cents to yourself over there and make me a plate of brisket while you're at it. But hey, don't bring guys to the table whose teams barely have a better record than the Jets, and the Jets have no wins. Okay, can't do it.
Well,
but I think the best team, right? That's what these rookie awards. will come down the stretch is who plays the best team, defense the rest of the way. And Queen has the best. He's on the best team defense. So another flash play, right? Another pick six or, doing something dynamic might get him over the hump. And like I said, Chase Young still has every opportunity, to fulfill that, which was probably the clubhouse leader the day he got drafted, to win this award very handily. They're saying he's the stats are just not there, right? But when you talk to the veteran players on the team, they were mentioning going into the Giants game how he's doing everything, technique sound. He's playing to the responsibility of the defense. And usually over time with pass rushers, if you do that, the stats will come. So if he finishes off with, he's got 2.5. If he gets to 7.5 or 8, it's going to be hard for him not to still win it.
Yeah, and you see him opening things up for the, interior lineman there from Alabama. Had a big day yesterday because they're so worried about Chase Young. I'll give you one guy. It won't show up in the box score, but Jalen Johnson for the Bears, he is playing at a very high level on a very top-notch defense for a playoff potential team. So that's one to keep an eye on there. All right, last award, and then we'll do a quick Monday Night Football preview hit here. The comeback player of the year. John, who do you have?
So, I mean, there's another, group of guys here. Jerick McKinnon back after 2 years of not playing. Graham Gano. Graham Gano, who I thought that might have been the sneaky trade, was the Rams trading for a kicker, there down the stretch to get a better kicker in the building, misses all of last year, gets cut, and is now hitting 94% of his kicks.
Ralph,
Teddy Bridgewater in the mix.
John, I love John. Brilliant football mind. No question about that. But did he just mention Graham Gano before Ben Roethlisberger?
I'm counting
a kicker? A kicker before Ben Roethlisberger?
Hey,
the Steelers are 8-0.
If you had Graham Gano, you wouldn't still be waiting for a Super Bowl win. Enough said.
He had to go there.
Hey, this year, Graham Gano, his kicks are going this way. Not wide left, not wide right.
Wow.
And then
I didn't mean to interrupt you, John, but I mean the kickers over Ben Roethlisberger. To me, this is a no-brainer. This is Ben Roethlisberger. And if you want to be funny, it's Myles Garrett because he's had a nice comeback after missing the end of last year. But I would go with Roethlisberger. But obviously, John had a few more candidates. Maybe he would like to.
Well, I think the only other real candidate here is the sympathy vote for Alex.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. But there are other guys that have played, right? When you get to the Alex Smith thing, to me, that's what the point was, is that there's other guys, not to the extent of Alex Smith's injury is unbelievable that he's playing and should give Dak Prescott every reason to believe that he can come back and play. Because were there 3 turnovers there yesterday? Yes. But if you knew nothing about Alex Smith yesterday and then watched him play, and then you showed somebody the injury that he suffered, you would not believe that that was humanly possible to do. So much like the Patrick Mahomes is the best player and Russell Wilson or Allen or Murray might be the MVP, comeback player of the year is definitely should be given to Ben Roethlisberger. No doubt. The toughest son of a bitch in the history of NFL football should be some kind of award they create and give to Alex Smith, because it's that journey of what he's done and how he's done it. You deserve something. You get me an ESPY, make up an ESPY.
Yeah, we'll give him the Man of the Year award or something for a consolation.
Honestly, what's most impressive about Alex Smith is that he was at a stage in his life where he didn't have to do this. He could have just went into retirement. He made millions and millions of dollars. He was a number 1 overall pick. He played big-time college football. He had a great played in a number of playoff games with the Niners and the Chiefs. I mean, he could have easily called it a day, but obviously there was some kind of pride on the line, and it really is phenomenal because he had to put in so much work that I can tell you right now, if it were me, I would be living in Boca Raton right now on the beach. But that guy had to work his tail off just to walk again. How about that?
Yeah, and here's the Redskins now in the thick of the playoff hunt. If they can pull out this division just one game away.
What a joke that is, though. Really, I mean, I know some Giants people around here, Rick, and they're like, 2-7. We're in
the hunt.
And they believe it too. They believe it, and these are smart people I know, and they believe it.
Hey, what are you gonna do? Jersey's full of characters here on the State of Football. Speaking of Jersey characters, we've got Monday Night Football. The Patriots 2-5 entering New Jersey to take on the winless New York Jets. Ralph, will go over to you since you are our AFC East aficionado.
Well, I honestly think that the Patriots emptied the tank last week against Buffalo. I don't know how they're going to respond. I don't know if Cam is going to go sour. And I honestly don't think the Patriots are that good. With that said, the Jets are a mess. And I know the NFL is full of surprises. And this one, I want so bad to see the Jets pull off one of those surprises. And really, I mean, that would be a great way to just bury the Patriots, losing to the lowly Jets on primetime television. But I just can't see it. I don't know how the Jets move the ball. I think Joe Flacco's best days are behind him. I got the Adam Gase factor there. You can't pick the Jets. Maybe if they had Darnold, I'd say Jets in a shocking upset, but you have to go with the Patriots in this one. An ugly, ugly Monday night matchup on paper, but maybe we will be surprised and we'll have some entertaining AFC East football tonight.
Can I get a flex?
It's better than watching an NFC East matchup. You got to give them that.
I guess. I mean, where's the flex when you need it? Can somebody? I mean, who's doing their job? Like, what's going on? Surprisingly, this looks like the most winnable game on paper for the New York Jets. But John, I think this one could go. The kind of like we saw everybody pick the Patriots or pick the Bucks last night. I would imagine everybody's picking the Patriots tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only shot here, to me, to get toward a Jets W is that Flacco doesn't turn it over. The Patriots have given up about 350 yards on the ground the last couple of games. However, it's LaMichael Pirine and Ty Johnson, so not exactly, the who's who of, the running back committee there, for the Jets. Is there a way that and some play action, gets you a little bit of, something there? Can the Jets put together a good enough defensive performance to keep this, I'm not going to say interesting, close, because it's not going to really be interesting, on either side of the, on either side, right? When Jacoby Myers and you're trading for Isaiah Ford, on one side, and, the Jets are still hodgepodging, their guys together. I think that the run game part could make this, like I said, a close game, that, again, turns out to be, at the end of the day, if you're looking at the biggest difference maker in this game, the Jets are already down at least 2 scores. If you're talking about the difference between Belichick and his whole staff got quarantined and couldn't come coach tonight, Belichick against all of the Jets coaches would be at least the Jets are down 10-0 to start the game. Right? So there's something that they could do. Right? There's some sort of gadget play or special teams play or some sort of new rule that we've never heard of that we would find out that Belichick knew of. I'll take the Patriots with a drop kick for the win, because they know what that is, right? You'd see something crazy happen before you just outright say that the Jets have a shot, to win this game. And you would think even a stale looking Cam Newton, the way that it's kind of gone the last month, versus the Jets, ugly, yes, Winnable? I can't take myself there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Patriots here as well. I think the only thing the Jets have working for them is that in Joe Flacco's mind, it's probably like his final audition that he can sign another contract in the offseason. In his head, he's probably thinking like, hey, I can go out here and show that I can still start in the league. I'm not saying that he can, but in his head, that's probably his thought process. But there's just so many factors working against him, as Ralph mentioned, the Adam Gase factor being the biggest one of them. And then, I love how they're shopping Chris Herndon at the trade deadline like he's some kind of piece that somebody wants to inject into it. Like, hey, we've got Chris Herndon on the block. Like, okay, thanks. Hey, it's been another hour of power. We went a little overtime here on Mondays, a lot to get to. Parting shots for the people, Ralph Ventre.
We're halfway there. Yesterday afternoon, the NFL passed that 128 game mark, more than halfway to 256. And I say it every week because folks said they would never get to this point, but we're here, and I'm happy about it. And looking forward to a great second half of the season.
Yeah, and we'll see how the postseason, aka the draft season for us, shapes out because the All-Star game circuit is still kind of up in the air. The NFL Combine, I'm hearing behind the scenes, it's kind of figuring it out type of thing still. So, but in terms of the regular season and being able to play and keeping the Super Bowl on time, kudos to the NFL and pulling off something that, quite frankly, other leagues have had trouble doing, right? They've had to contain themselves in a bubble atmosphere. Here we are, business as usual. And it is business as usual here on the State of Football weekdays, 9 a.m. What a way to kick off the season. We begin it in New Jersey. We'll wrap it up in San Diego, John. Parting shots for the people.
Yeah, we see the first time ever. It wasn't easy yesterday. It probably wasn't as easy as most people in Vegas thought it was going to be for the Steelers for the first time ever to get to 8-0. Probably wasn't as easy as you thought. Probably was very gratifying that they did it against one of their main rivals, over all the decades, the Dallas Cowboys. But here's Mike Tomlin, right? The longest tenured, him and John Harbaugh, two of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL, are still right there amongst the leaders in terms of wins in 2020. So if you want something that's amazing, right? We talk about the Jets, we talk about the Texans need a coach. The Falcons might need a coach. The Jets may need a coach. There's a lot of other guys that are currently kind of suspect there. Can you imagine that Tomlin just got to 140, now 141 wins, and Harbaugh has the amount of wins he has, and you have two guys that are the longest tenured, and they've done it in the same division. Yeah. So the longest two guys have been able to go back and forth and have that many victories, not do one in the AFC, one in the NFC, or one in two different conferences, divisions in the same, conference, that they are both doing that in the same division over that period of time. And here's Mike Tomlin and here's Ben Roethlisberger, what for Roethlisberger could be the twilight of his career. And they set an all-time record where they're at 8-0. So there was a little time there, that the Dolphins now, are going to have to wait for that time to open up that champagne bottle. At least it's going to get to week 9 before you can do that. So how many more weeks can the Steelers stay undefeated? And after tonight, when's the next time you're going to think there's even a discussion that the Jets can win a game?
Jesus. Well, Mercury Morris, if you're listening, keep the champagne chilled, keep it on the ice. Pittsburgh, they're going to make a run at it. And I'll tell you, Mike Tomlin, I think he just passed his mentor, Tony Dungy, on the all-time wins list. You heard Big Ben say after the game, yeah, Dallas is America's team, but we're the world's team. And I would not be surprised here if Big Ben pulls an Elway and rides off into the sunset if the Steelers do bring home that sticky Lombardi and one final time. I mean, there's a guy who's been through so much, his body's taking a toll. To ride it out on top it would make a lot of sense. So there you have it for another hour of power, the state of football, your new home for real football talk in the mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern. Shout out to all our chat room people. Good to see Joey Everett, Robin Baxton, all of our people across the social media platform. Of course, we are streaming live on the NFLDraftBible.com. You can go and get Scouting the Nation right now, available, just released this morning. We've got a great in-depth story on Jacoby Stevens, the LSU prospect, coming out tomorrow. We'll have NFL Draft Bible rankings throughout the week. Take advantage of our promo code Familia50. Sign up 50% off there. And of course, later on this week, we'll be wrapping it up at the Hub football camp in San Diego. A really impressive roster. If you've been paying attention to some of the announcements, Shane Ray, a former first-round pick, Matt Elam, another former first-round pick, really some incredible street free agents that'll be coming out and participating. So we hope you keep it locked for that. At NFL Draft Bible is where it's at. We'll catch you tomorrow, everybody, with Russell Landy and recap the college football weekend that was. Thanks for watching.